In 2023, the Mariners season ended up with a little bit of a heartbreak. They missed the playoffs by one game, finishing with an 88-74 record, just one game back of the Toronto Blue Jays and the sixth seed in the American League with an 89-73 record. However, heading into 2024, they've made a lot of changes, a ton of changes, and they still have a very, very talented squad entering the 2024 season. So what does it look like for them? What are their expectations for 2024? Who are their key players? What offseason moves will they make? We're going to cover it all right here. My name is Derek. I'm here with Joey. You are watching Bleacher, Brawls, and this is your Seattle Mariners 2024 team profile. First things first, let's talk about some of the key players for this Mariners team. I'll hand it over to you, Joey. Who are three key players for this Mariners team, and out of those three, who would you like to expand on as a important player for the Mariners in 2024?
Julio Rodriguez, George Kirby, and Logan Gilbert. I'm going to expand on Julio Rodriguez. He had kind of a bad first half last year, if I remember correctly, and then he just kind of picked it up. It was looking like a disappointing season for him, and he really got on fire. What the Mariners should be looking for him is a consistent all-year performance, leading the team from start to finish, maturing his bat, making better swing decisions. That's the Julio Rodriguez Mariners fans are looking for. They're looking for him to be, that guy that they give that Bobby Witt type deal too soon. That's what they're looking for. So I'd say Julio Rodriguez is the most important player on that team.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I do want to bring up. I kind of just bring up their. I think Andres Munoz is good, but also I just kind of want to bring up the big three in the rotation: Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, and then George Kirby, who I do kind of want to take a look at here with Kirby, just because I think he's close to being one of the better pitchers in baseball in terms of. I think if he takes a step, he'll be in the ace conversation. And for me, I'm a guy who believes there aren't many aces in baseball. I'm in the boat of maybe there's 5 or 6 aces in the entire major leagues. Then you have the ones who are, a tier below the aces, which I think Kirby kind of fits in, as well as Luis Castillo and maybe even Logan Gilbert as well. But Kirby, I think the one thing for Kirby is that I think he sometimes almost hurts himself by throwing too many strikes because he's very much pound the zone pitcher. Sometimes he might pound the zone a little too much, relies on his defense a little bit too much sometimes, which can hurt him at times because he has the stuff to have really, really good strikeout numbers. And it's not like he's had bad strikeout numbers. 24.5%, 22.7% for his K rate the last 2 seasons. Still good, but I could easily see him being around 30%, if not a little bit more, with the stuff that he has. I think occasionally maybe expand the zone a little bit, try and get guys to chase, because if guys know that you're throwing it in the zone, like that's okay, they don't have to guess whether or not they need a swing or not in some senses. So I think for Kirby, maybe get a little bit more, yes, attack hitters early in counts, but be willing to expand the zone, not just throw everything in the zone, because I think that does hurt him sometimes. He gets too heavy in sort of pounding the zone and doesn't try and get guys to chase sometimes, when he very well could. He's in an 0-2 count. You don't have to throw it in the strike zone all the time. Not that he does, but he does throw the ball in the zone a lot more than a lot of pitchers. And I think with his stuff, he could take another step forward if he sometimes doesn't throw the ball in the strike zone as much. Moving on from key players, though, we'll talk about some of their offseason moves. There were a lot of moves the Mariners made this offseason. They traded Robbie Ray for Mitch Haniger and Anthony DeSclafani. DeSclafani was then later flipped in a package to acquire Jorge Polanco. They also traded for Luke Raley. They traded Jared Kelenic, Marco Gonzalez, and Evan White for Jackson Kowar and Cole Phillips. And then they also traded Eugenio Suarez away to the Diamondbacks. And then they also signed Mitch Garver this offseason, which was their real kind of only impact free agent signing. So I hand it back over to you, Joey. Which offseason move do you think is going to be important for them in 2024?
I like the Mitch Garver move. Solid hitter, very underrated. I don't remember exactly. There's a couple advanced statistics that he's like very, very high on for some reason. He has a bunch of outliers. I can't remember the exact ones, but yeah, I really like him. Power bat, can play catcher, DH. I like that move for them.
Definitely. I like the Garver move too. Is actually really good chase rate, and so 98th percentile chase rate, doesn't chase that side of the zone a lot. 90th percentile walk rate, 83rd percentile barrel rate, 87th percentile expected slugging. Overall, very good hitter. Obviously, does strike out a decent amount. But he's not like he doesn't swing and miss a ton. He's just above league average in terms of swing and miss rate. Doesn't swing and miss a ton. So overall, in terms of whiff rate, it's technically what it is. Swing and miss, whiff, same thing. So overall, I do like the Garver signing a lot. I don't know how Seattle's going to affect them home run wise because it's definitely a pitcher's ballpark. But I'm very high on the Garver signing, and he also finds himself in a place where it's similar to Texas last year. Jonah Heim caught most of the games for the Rangers last year. Garver didn't really catch, mostly DH'd last year. When he goes to Seattle, Cal Raleigh is doing most of the catching. So Garver's not really going to have to be behind the plate a lot. He can DH. The only thing Garver, I mean, he's had some wild seasons. In 2019, only 93 games, he hits 31 homers. Like, okay, that's great. Then in 2021, he only played 68 games, 13 homers, a 139 weighted runs created plus. He had a 155 weighted runs created plus in 2019. 2022 was a bit rough for him in his first year with the Rangers. Then last year, he played 87 games, 19 home runs, 138 weighted runs created plus. If Garver plays like 120, 130 games, he could very easily be a 30 home run guy. I think he's that good. The other move I'll just slightly touch on real quick is the fact that they brought in Luke Raley. I do like Luke Raley a lot. And the fact that he was with the Rays last year, lefty bat, hits right pitching very well. And he had a very, very solid year last year. Overall, he had 19 homers last year and just over 400 plate appearances. I think he'll be a nice solid pickup as well for the Mariners. Last but not least, let's touch on some of the expectations for this Mariners team. Obviously, they just missed the playoffs, like I said, by one game last year. So for 2024, Joey, what are the expectations for this Mariners team?
They want to win the AL West, and they want to use that starting pitching rotation to do it. The only thing is, do they have the hitting? I'm not prepared to say that they do. I think the Mariners will be in the conversation for the division. I don't think they'll win it. But that's what they want. That's pretty clear that they're shooting for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're shooting for the division. They're pitching, not just the rotation. I mean, it's a very young rotation, too. Luis Castillo's the veteran at 31 years old. But then you have Logan Gilbert, who's just 26. George Kirby, who just turned 26. Bryce Miller is 25. Brian Wu just turned 24 recently. And then you look at the bullpen. Andres Munoz is only 25. Matt Brash is only 25. They trade for Gregory Santos from the White Sox. He's only 24. And those guys are all really good. You know, you look at their rotation and those back three in that bullpen that I just mentioned. They're all very solid. You even have Gabe Spear, who was good last year. Trent Thornton was good last year. Tyler Sato was solid last year. They brought in Jackson Kowar from the Braves. We'll see how he does. So I think like the pitching side is set for this Mariners team, especially if they stay healthy. It's all about the offense. That was the thing last year. It was weird because when J-Rod went out, the Mariners finally started to hit last year. But then when J-Rod came back, then he started to hit, but then the rest of the team kind of cooled off. If J-Rod can hit and the rest of the team can hit at the same time, it's going to be a scary team. Not only did they only miss the playoffs by one game, they only missed the division by 2 games, which would have forced a 3-team tiebreaker between themselves, the Astros, and the Rangers. Overall, I think that is a goal. Win the division. I think that's the expectation. Worst case scenario, I think they need to make the playoffs. They made it in 2021. They just missed out last year. I think that goal is to make it again this year. And you play you play the A's 13 times a year. That's also a fun little bonus. You should win about 10 of those games, hopefully. So I think the Mariners, that's their goal. They need to make the playoffs. And I think they should win the division if everything goes right. So I think that's a great place to wrap this thing up. Mariners fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments on your team. Do you think they're good enough to win the division? Let us know. Make sure to check out all our links in the description, including our team profile link that still sends you to the playlist of all our team profiles that we've done so far. So check that out. Check out all our other links. And for Joey, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and we will see you next time.